don't have democracy in our workplaces. We never did. The commitment to democracy is verbal in this society, limited to that voting activity where we live, but not where we work.
Hashtag forced to vote has made me realize there isn't a left in America, and that's the problem. There even the thing we all agree on, we couldn't agree on when it came time to do it. Half the left said, don't be mean, and let's wait for a better time.
We are just deprived of a national conversation about anything to the extent that we have one. It's just about these stupid culture war issues. It's not about what's really happening right now.
And there it is again. Everyone, hello. Good to see everyone. Sorry about that. I didn't unmute myself. Forgot to do that part. So we have a lot to talk about today. There's a lot going on today, including Burn Earth says, do no audio. We can't hear you. Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm glad I figured that out soon, but that would have helped me as well. Thank you for that. So we have a lot to talk about because the science community has a lot to say about COVID-19 recently. There's a lot of stuff going on. First off, the origin of COVID-19 looks like it came from high-density farming, not in a China lab, and we'll go over specifically the WHO report so that YouTube doesn't actually think that I'm giving you medical misinformation. I will actually go through the WHO report and show you what's going on right now. There's a lot going on right now in the WHO that you should definitely 100% be aware of. What else do we have? So we have that going on today. There's a shit ton of stories. Hold on. I want to kind of bury some of the lead here, everyone. So there's a couple other stories here. Wow, what else? Yeah, okay, so here's one. The Moderna vaccine, the mRNA sequence for the Moderna vaccine has officially been hacked and published on GitHub. That is massive news. That means that all vaccine companies right now have the genetic sequence, or the mRNA sequence needed to produce the Moderna vaccine, which is just fucking mind-boggling. That means that Moderna isn't the only one with the tools to produce the vaccine right now. They're not the only ones. Now, legally speaking, they're the only ones that can produce the Moderna vaccine. But companies that can create vaccines, and we'll talk about this, companies that can create vaccines can produce Moderna vaccines, can replicate Moderna vaccines. They don't sell it. They don't need to sell it. They don't need to give it to people. But there should be massive pressure in the science community to push this Moderna vaccine to be public intellectual property, and producing the vaccines without actually distributing them would provide extreme political pressure. So this is something that every fucking person should be sharing right now. I'm actually dead fucking serious about this. You should absolutely be telling people that this mRNA vaccine has been distributed in GitHub. So we'll be talking about that. But that's the other big giant thing today. We're going to start with, I think that one, to be honest, because it's yeah, let's start with that one because I think it's honestly one of the biggest stories. So this is despite I know the title of this live stream is Origin of COVID-19. I'm going to bury the lead because this story is actually more important. That the story we will get to after this is even more important. This is going to be the biggest story you fucking hear in your entire life, okay? And I'm not kidding about that because we actually need to be producing vaccines. Everyone should be producing vaccines right now, not just an oligarchy of vaccine distributors like Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and that's it. And AstraZeneca or whatever from Oxford, and that's it. That's the only 4 allowed. That's sick and gross. That's why we only have like a sixth of the country vaccinated right now? That's sad. That's pathetic. That is pathetic. We have tons of vaccine distributors that have like CRISPR technology that can create mRNA vaccines. They have the resources to do that, but fucking Moderna has they have ownership over the mRNA sequence, which is fucking mind-boggling to me. They can just decide to own that sequence. So I'm going to play this video for you all because this video is incredibly revealing. This video, honestly, I want you to really think about every single word that's said in this video. This is from DW News, 2.2 million subs. My goodness, massive fucking credit to this YouTube channel. Like, honestly, subscribe, like, everything with it. This YouTube channel deserves so much fucking, like, honestly, this reporter, these people, these 2 individuals deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for what you're about to see. They deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for what you're about to see. Take a look at this. This is how you...
It is considered one of the most effective COVID-19 vaccines. Now, scientists say they've hacked the genetic sequence behind Moderna's revolutionary mRNA vaccine and shared the code with the world online for free. The Stanford University researchers sequenced Moderna's patented drug by studying leftover vaccine vials with permission from US authorities. mRNA is the key mechanism used in the vaccine. It triggers the body's own cells to produce the protein needed to defeat the coronavirus.
Wow.
Now, DW's Amir
Wow.
Asif has been following...
That's your key. That's the thing that if you take a Moderna vaccine, that's the thing that you stick in your arm. That's the thing they're putting in there. That is now public information. It's public information. The Moderna mRNA sequence is now public on GitHub. It's crazy. Get ready.
This story for us. Amir, does this mean we can all start mixing our own vaccine at home very soon?
No, unfortunately not. It may seem that way given where they posted this, to GitHub, which is a place that has garnered attention for being a kind of hacktivist website where activists can post reverse-engineered computer software code so that people can download it for free and in the public good. And so these scientists posted their code, which is mRNA code, a biological code, not a computer code.
Right there. Look at that. Welcome to the thing that was hidden by Moderna. That's it right there. The sequence. You are all looking at Moderna's mRNA sequence from GitHub. That's it. And I mean, they scroll down, I think. It's giant.
mRNA
it's massive.
is a complex biological
There it is, though. And you can download it from GitHub. It's public. Everyone can download this. Wow, holy shit. Whoever posted this, whoever posted that on GitHub. So if you don't know what GitHub is like an open source community for programmers and computer scientists. And pretty much, I think everything in there is open source. Everything put on GitHub is open source. I don't know about that 100%. I'm not quite sure how it works. I've used a bunch of packages from for my Python programs from GitHub. So I know that much, but that's about it. That said, though, whoever published this sequence to the public so that we can all have it now is a fucking hero. He should be considered a hero. That guy, what he essentially did is he gave the instruction manual to create the Moderna vaccine so that, in theory, all vaccine companies have all of the resources needed to construct the Moderna vaccine. Does that mean they get to willy-nilly make the vaccine? No, that's illegal. That's currently illegal. But there should be massive political pressure to keep this fucking train moving, okay? This train's moving fast, okay? So we need to keep the train moving. So if you know someone who, let's say, works at a pharmacy company or they make vaccines or something in biotech, right? Just share this. I'll link this in the YouTube video when I post this, but share this video with them. Don't share my video, just share this video. Because this video, it has everything that anyone who's intelligent about mRNA vaccines, they would be able to instantly recognize, oh, wow, I know what this is and I know what this means. And so we should be sharing this information because education and information is massive power. And I strongly disagree with the concept of using vaccines as intellectual property. Now, I want to let this guy finish because, again, he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for what he says.
Product that can't be downloaded like a computer program. It involves a huge supply chain, and there's even some steps involving nanoparticles that only a few hundred people in the world even know how to do, let alone have the option to do that.
But that's better than 4 companies, only one of which has the Moderna vaccine mRNA sequence. Hundreds of individuals can produce this. They know how to produce this. They have the information to produce this. They have everything they need to make this vaccine. And we can be saving lives right now. We can be increasing the production power of our vaccine network. But we can't because it's illegal in the US.
With the help of a big company like Moderna. So we're not going to see any home-brewed vaccines anytime soon, I don't think.
Unfortunately, I'd be one of the...
It is unfortunate. It's really fucking unfortunate. Listen to what this guy says. It's unfortunate.
Like Moderna. So we're not going to see any home-brewed vaccines anytime soon, I don't think.
Unfortunately, I'd be one of the first to try.
Me too. Me too. If you make a homebrew vaccine with the same fucking mRNA sequence, I would take it. If it's the same thing, then yeah, I would take it. Yes. If it's the same thing, then yes, it's the same thing. This is why the concept of patenting an mRNA sequence just doesn't make any sense at all. It's like saying, hey, this DNA sequence, patented. It's the same concept as like patenting a melody. You can't do that. You can't patent a melody. You have to patent like a song. And then a song has to be heard and to see if there's an actual categorical difference. And on top of that, when it comes to, I don't know, it's amazing because they have the tools. Everyone has the tools now. Everyone has the tools now.
What's behind this project then?
Well, their explanation was just as simple. They said that this is a biological component that exists now in a pretty big part of the human population, and they say researchers have a right to know what it looks like. So they've found out what the code was using just leftover material in these vaccine vials and posted online because they said, in particular, people who are researching COVID-19 should be able to distinguish between what mRNA is coming from the human body, what is coming from a virus, and then what is coming from this particular synthetic Moderna mRNA sequence.
So let me explain what he just said there, and it's very important. There is an incredible reason why this mRNA sequence should be public. People want to study people who have been vaccinated, but you can't study people who have been vaccinated if you don't know how to identify the vaccine, because the thing that you need to identify the vaccine is private intellectual property. How can you study people who have the vaccine? How can other researchers study the vaccine if they don't have the sequence? So make the sequence public. Duh. And they did. And that's great. That's awesome. I love that.
But this sequence, is it not Moderna's intellectual property? Have they said anything in reaction?
Well, it is and it isn't. It's their intellectual property to create it. But just to know what it is, it's like if you took a microscope and you looked at a BMW, what are the components of the car? So that's all these scientists did. They said, here's what we found. This is how it's made. But Moderna has actually been pretty lax in going after copyright violations, patent violations. They've even, the president of the...
Thank you, Moderna. Thank you for that. That's a good thing. Moderna's being lax on copyright rules. Let's try to stretch that as much as we possibly can at this point, because we need to be making vaccines for people. We shouldn't let Moderna be the only company to be in charge of producing these things, because then you have a monopoly. They don't have an incentive to produce the vaccines quickly. They don't have the incentive to make many manufacturing facilities, because they only need to make enough facilities to produce the exact amount of vaccines required to vaccinate everyone. And so there's no time restriction. And so they can, for example, produce a really limited supply, and that'll be fine because they have a monopoly on the mRNA vaccine. Well, now they don't, because it's public knowledge. It's public knowledge. It's not public intellectual property, though, but it's public knowledge, and I think that's incredible. This is how it should have started. It should have been this way the whole time. I'm kind of upset that we haven't gotten this information out to the public earlier. I wish it would have happened earlier, but that said, whoever did this hack, whoever did the research, the independent research to figure out what the actual mRNA sequence of that entire vaccine was. First, you have to be able to identify that vaccine, which is really difficult by itself. Like that, the process of being able to do this it requires many scientists. Okay, this cannot be done by one person. There's no way this could be done by one person. So, to all the scientists, from me, to all the scientists who were involved in this, thank you for your service. You're patriots. At the end of this, once we figure out who is behind this, just give them tons of awards. Just give them all the awards you can. They deserve all of them.
The company gave an interview and said that they're not going to go after patent violations. And the scientists notified Moderna before they did this, and there was no protest from the company.
So there you go. There you go. So it's public knowledge. The vaccine's public knowledge. Moderna isn't really going after people for copyright violation. So what does that mean? Well, it's illegal to produce the vaccine. It's illegal to produce the Moderna vaccine, even though you have the code. It's illegal to produce it. But it's also illegal to produce psilocybin in the US. And I want you to really wrap your mind around that. So it's illegal to consume or even have psilocybin, the only known substance in the universe that adds neural pathways to your brain. The only known substance that is 4 times more effective than the leading antidepressant, according to the scientific community. No overdoses, so far there haven't been any long-lasting negative side effects from anyone. There's plenty of research behind psilocybin, and I believe in the legalization of psilocybin. And in the same way, I believe in the legalization of the mRNA sequence. I think everyone should be able to produce this vaccine. I don't think one company should have the sole power in being able to produce this vaccine. Now, I do want to mention something. I did a video recently about this already, actually. So a reporter... Yeah, here we go. So here's me reporting on a reporter who asked Jen Psaki about making the vaccine public. Take a look at this.
India. Can you tell more about the possibility, because India and South Africa have made a formal request of the WTO about lifting intellectual property protections for COVID vaccine and treatment. Is the U.S. ready to consider this?
I know we've been asked about this before, but I don't have any update on it.
A lot of people are going to die as a result of us not deciding to agree with India and South Africa that this vaccine should be public so that other countries can produce this vaccine. We can't just rely on 3 companies to produce the world's vaccines. That's stupid. Oh, look who said that before the thing was released, before the mRNA sequence was released. Wow. I think that's before, right? Let me double check that. This was April. Oh, no, technically I released the video. That's not fair though. I thought I released that video like 2 days after I made it. But anyways, I made that video before watching this video. So just so that everyone understands, I advocated for it before it became a thing, before it was popular, and it's about to become popular. That view that I just had, the thing that I'm advocating for, it's right now, it's like, it's not a big deal, but it's going to be a big deal in about like a month or so. Because this thing is going to just, this story is going to expand and expand and expand. It doesn't just stop. It's not like, okay, we have all the public information for how to make the COVID Moderna vaccine. I guess that must have taken a lot of money to do all that research. I guess we should all just sit here and do nothing now. You really think that's going to... No. This thing is going to expand and expand. And of course, this is going to become a giant thing. Giant international thing. Turning vaccines into public intellectual property. Now, what happens if you do that? And I really want you to consider this. What happens if you make vaccines public intellectual property? Then you have to do the same, you have to make the same argument about every other vaccine as well, like the flu vaccine. And then all of a sudden, all vaccines should be free and public property. And then you extend that to the healthcare industry and the biotech industry, and you make biotech socialist as well. This is the transition. This is how you get Medicare for all. If you want to get Medicare for all, this is the way to go. You first make the vaccines public property, then you make the medicine public property, then you make the hospitals that give that medicine public property, then you make the machines that run that hospital public property, and then you make biotech public property. And so that we all contribute to the research behind the things that make us live. That's a good idea. I want that. I want my money to go towards that research. I would like people to study cancer research and whatnot. Like, there's so many benefits to this, to making this vaccine public property. So, my goodness, just so much massive credit to these individuals. Let me see if I can find their names.
COVID-19 vaccines.
Oh, it's not going to tell me, is it? Dang, I don't know the names of these individuals, but if someone can put in the comments section when I post this video, please give the names, because these, like I said, these individuals, they deserve so much credit for doing this story. I think they do. All right, so let me save that video, and then we'll get to the origin of COVID-19, which is the thing that everyone is looking for. Everyone's wanting the origin of COVID-19. Where did it come from? Well, the CDC, or the WHO has a lot of information about that. So let me quickly save this, and then we'll get to that. And everything's freezing. Why is that freezing? Look at this. This is not fair. I'm trying to save a file and it just says not responding. That sucks. There we go. Okay. Here we go. This is it. This is the story you all waited for. So I totally missed this joint report from the WHO. This apparently was released a few months ago, but the information contained within this document is incredibly important because it exposes this person publicly. Because the information contained in this document exposes this person as a liar. And it also reveals a lot of information about where COVID-19 likely originated from. Now, I want to mention a couple things up front. I was not very happy to find out today that I received a community strike. Look at this. Look at this. I showed that Dr. Fauci lied again. And I literally showed Dr. Fauci lying. I literally explained why he contradicted himself in like 10 seconds. Again, this isn't the first time. It's not like you should be surprised, YouTube. So, now I do want to mention that technically, they flagged my live stream, but they didn't flag the video that I posted. And I do want to say that I did cut out parts. I cut out parts in all the videos I post because there's a lot of things that I think I don't 100% agree with here and there. And so I haven't gone through this 2 hour and 20 minute video myself, but it's pretty fucking annoying that I have to go through 2 hours and 20 minutes to figure out what the hell this means. Medical misinformation. Well, what does this mean? That means I contradicted the WHO stuff. How? Who? Can you give me more information about that? Like, that's kind of unreal. This is unbelievable to me. This is called censorship. This is how you start it. They're prepping me for this. And what do you think they're going to do to this video? Why do you think you're not seeing this on the mainstream media? So this is unbelievable. I can't believe that they... Listen, I agree with the concept of censoring content. But please tell me where. And also, please don't threaten me. Because if you threaten me, then that prevents me from wanting to report on the things that are extremely controversial and differ wildly from the narrative that the mainstream media pushes daily. That YouTube pushes daily, I should say as well. So this is bullshit. Like, I mean, I could understand, again, like I said, I can understand you want to get rid of the thing I highlighted and you want to give me a reason of what, like, this this means within my video, like give me an explanation of what that means, so I don't have to go through 2 hours to just guess. It's annoying. This is annoying. I mean, you have to understand why this is censorship. Because, again, this feels threatening. I feel like if I report on what the WHO has released here, I feel like even though I'm being consistent with the WHO, YouTube, I feel threatened. I feel like I shouldn't be telling my audience what's in this document, because if I do, then YouTube is going to take my videos down for an entire week. And that would really hurt what I'm trying to do with this channel. I'm trying to take a small channel and turn it to 10K subs in 2 months. I've been doing live streams daily. I've been publishing more videos than every other progressive YouTube channel in the last week. At least at the rate of videos per day, the total watch time per day, I'm doing quite a bit, and this is threatening. And now I have WHO again. This is what was released from. This is what medical misinformation policy, COVID-19 medical misinformation policy means to YouTube. So basically, it's got to contradict local health authorities or the WHO. So what happens if the local health authorities disagree with the WHO? Can I not report on that? Am I not allowed to report on that? Then why is CNN allowed to report this? Take a look at this. Sanjay Gupta did amazing research. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, massive credit to him. He exposed the CDC director as a liar in this video. Take a look. This is massive information revealed
Dr.
here.
Robert Redfield, the former CDC director, is speaking out for the first time, saying publicly where he believes the coronavirus that caused the pandemic came from. These extraordinary comments come in a new interview for a CNN documentary airing this weekend. Dr. Sanjay Gupta joins us now. And Sanjay, Dr. Redfield says he's giving his opinion, but I have to say, I think you're about to break some pretty significant news here.
Yeah, I mean, this was extraordinary.
Yeah.
For certain. He is the former CDC director. He's spent his entire career as a virologist. I interviewed all six of these doctors sort of in the form of an autopsy, really to sort of meticulously dissect exactly what had happened here. Really no pre-agenda. Dr. Redfield, when we sat down to talk, he wanted to start at the beginning, the origins of this virus, what he believed actually transpired. Take a look.
Yeah, what happened? Where did the virus originate from? Former CDC director? Where did that virus come from? Was it Wuhan, China? Let's see.
Listen.
I
was to guess, this virus started transmitting somewhere in September, October in Wuhan.
September, October.
That's my own view. It's an only opinion. I'm allowed to have opinions now. I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped. Other people don't believe that. That's fine. Science will eventually figure it out.
Science will eventually figure it out. They've already figured out a lot of shit, but science will eventually figure out the real shit. What did the scientists reveal? Former CDC director? What did the WHO reveal that you feel all of a sudden you feel really uncomfortable during this interview? That's interesting. Sorry everyone, my cats are fighting. Hold on, I need to fix this. Sorry everyone. Be right back. All right, I'm back. All right, so listen to this interview. Pay very careful attention.
Not unusual for respiratory pathogens that are being...
Hold on, let me start this over.
etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory.
Sorry, I think I might have. I'm gonna start the interview over so that I don't. Yeah, I want the actual video I publish on YouTube to contain the entire interview as coherent sequence. So here we go.
If I was to guess, this virus started transmitting somewhere in September, October in Wuhan.
September, October.
That's my own view. It's an only opinion. I'm allowed to have opinions. Now, I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped. Other people don't believe that. That's fine. Science will eventually.
Other people? You mean the WHO? You mean the WHO? All right, people, let's get ready. I'm going to show you exactly what it says. It literally just gives it right. Where is it? Here it is. Introduction through the laboratory incidents. You dig deep into this document, you might find the assessment of the likelihood of what the WHO thinks. In view of the above, a laboratory origin of the pandemic was considered to be extremely unlikely. I'll say it again. In the view of the above, a laboratory origin of the pandemic was considered to be extremely unlikely. Interesting. So then what did the WHO put the blame on? Glad you asked. Well, the consensus was that given the level of evidence, the potential for SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19, introduced via cold food chain products is considered possible, but there's more to it because there's another hypothesis that the CDC has. There's a total of 4. We're going to go through all of them. Based on the above arguments, though, the scenario including introduction through an intermediary host was considered to be likely to very likely. Whoa, this is how the WHO, this is what the WHO is saying. So now let me play what the CDC director says, because what's going on is Sanjay Gupta is doing the same thing that I'm basically doing to the former CDC director. You should watch the whole 2-hour interview. I don't know where to find it. I've been looking for it, but it was, I guess, premiered for a 2-hour interview Sunday night at CNN. Really looking for that interview. Trying to find somewhere if I can find it, because clearly everything he's saying is directly contradicting the WHO. So YouTube, are you going to censor the former CDC director? And how are you going to, in YouTube, I'm really curious, how are you going to be able to mend this one? How am I going to be able to not contradict my local health authorities and the WHO? Both. Like, I can't contradict either one. But in this case, they're saying contradictory things. They're saying opposite things. This guy thinks that COVID-19 started in Wuhan, China, which throughout this document, and we will go over this in a moment, throughout this document, it shows plenty of evidence that the origin was not China. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence to suggest that that COVID-19 did not come from China. What does that mean? What would that mean? Well, if China is not responsible, then who attacked China? Who was the first one to blame China? Which country arbitrarily lied about China to begin with? Oh yeah, the US. Interesting. The US has a lot of high density farming, which is specifically the thing that is sourced right throughout the arguments in favor of this argument. High density farming. The virus was spread between animals because they were compacted. Because, like, for example, Tyson Farm, they have all their chickens like 2 inches apart from each other. High density farming influences the spread of viruses. High density farming. So high density farming is what's killing us right now, folks. Everyone's dying because of high density farming. Holy shit. So let me read the entire argument in favor so that you have all of the information from the WHO. Although the closest related viruses have been found in bats, the evolutionary distance between these bat viruses and SARS-CoV-2 is estimated to be several decades. What that means is, when it comes to bat viruses and COVID-19, the connection between the similarities involved in the evolution needed, the things don't add up. The evolution of the virus doesn't add up because the closest related viruses would have an evolutionary distance of several decades. That doesn't make any sense. So suggesting that there's a missing link in the evolution chain. There's a missing link. Either a missing progenitor virus, I think that's how you say it, or evolution of a progenitor virus in an intermediate host. Holy shit. Highly similar viruses have also been found in pangolins, suggesting cross-species transmissions from bats at least once, but again with considerable genetic distance. Both these putative hosts are infrequently in contact with humans, and an intermediary step involving an amplifying host has been observed for several other emerging viruses, including Henipaviruses, influenza viruses, SARS-CoV, and MERS-CoV. I don't know. I'm not very familiar. I'm really young, so I don't know much about these other things. But anyways, SARS-CoV-2 infection and intraspecies spread, including further transmission to humans, has been documented in an increasing number of animal species, particularly mustelids and felids. Anyways, SARS-CoV-2 adapts relatively rapidly in susceptible animals, such as mink. The increasing number of animals shown to be susceptible to SARS-CoV-2 includes animals that are farmed in sufficient densities to allow potential for enzootic circulation. So that's the thing. That's the mechanism that caused COVID to evolve quickly. So what is enzootic circulation? Let's look it up. So enzootic is the non-human equivalent of endemic and means in a broad sense belonging to or native to, characteristic of, or prevalent in a particular geography, race, field, area, or environment, native to an area of scope. An organism being enzootic means native to a place or a specific fauna. Okay, so now let's go back to the user context clues here. Yeah, so basically what they're saying is that there are farms that have sufficient densities to allow for quick evolution of viruses. So the reason you're seeing a bunch of viruses, according to the WHO, the reason all these other viruses are coming in is because when you have all of these animals confined into small spaces, these viruses can quickly transmit through that species. Hold on, I'll be right back. Sorry, that was my cat. Again. My cat's having a bad day, I guess. So all of these other viruses, what they originate from are farms. That's interesting. What is this? This is very interesting. My cats are fighting again. Sorry. Nope, no, they're not. Nope, they're good now, I think. Okay, let's go back to this. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll clip the video so that when I publish this on YouTube, it'll be good. So these viruses originate in high-density farming because when you have all these animals that are close together, then the virus can spread, and as it spreads, it evolves quickly. Bats can't spread the virus quickly enough between other bats to be able to genetically modify its ability to transmit COVID-19 or have COVID-19 to transmit. So basically, these theories that Chinese ate like bats and stuff, totally unfounded, totally made up. And I'm going to go through the summary so that we can all know that the CDC director, the former CDC director, was 100% lying. He is a liar. Here's the summary. In May 2020, the World Health Assembly in Resolution WHA 73.1 requested the Director General of the World Health Organization to continue to work closely with the World Organization for Animal Health, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and countries as part of the One Health approach to identify the zoonotic source of the virus and the route of introduction to the human population, including the possible role of intermediate hosts. What intermediate hosts, WHO? Well, at the end of this report, they talk about that's what they want to do next. And I hope they fucking get on that work as soon as possible, because that's where the guilt is. That's where the guilty person is, whoever, or the guilty party is, whoever's involved in creating this virus. We need to figure out where what those intermediate hosts are, and we have the ability to do that. So information about who's guilty here, it's coming. And it won't be from me. It'll be from the WHO probably. And you're gonna see like this study is what they do, the kind of studies that they look at, and the sort of overwhelming research behind these claims is pretty cool, pretty significant, I think. The aim is to prevent both reinfection with the virus in animals and humans, and the establishment of new zoonotic reservoirs, thereby reducing further risks of the emergence of and transmission of zoonotic diseases. In July 2020, WHO in China began the groundwork for studies to better understand the origins of the virus. So the WHO and China worked together to figure out where did this virus come from. Terms of reference were agreed that defined a phased approach and scope of studies, the main guidelines and principles, and expected deliverables. The TORs envisaged, I don't know what that word is, I'm sorry, an initial phase 1 of short-term studies to better understand how the virus might have been introduced and started to circulate in Wuhan, China. So, get ready for the results. Here we go. The joint international team comprised of 17 Chinese and 17 international experts from other countries, the World Health Organization, the Global Outbreak Alert and Response Network, and the World Organization for Animal Health. All of them. Every fucking one of them all came to the same conclusion. Get ready for all of the science. It's going to get mind-boggling. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations participated as an observer. So you have another country to observe to make sure everything's going perfectly fine, that they aren't doing anything sus. Following initial online meetings, a joint study was conducted over a 28-day period from 14th of January to the 10th of February 2021 in the city of Wuhan, People's Republic of China. The team agreed a work plan and established working groups to review the progress made in phase 1 studies in the areas of epidemiology, animals and the environment, and molecular epidemiology and bioinformatics. During the course of the discussions, the international experts gained deeper understanding of the methods used and data obtained. In response to requests during the visit, further data and analysis were generated, reflecting a productive iterative approach to refining the design and interpretation of complex studies in all areas. In addition to group work, the team shared scientific and thematic presentations on relevant topics to help inform its work, undertook a series of site visits to important locations, and conducted interviews with key informants. Basically, the WHO is saying here that they've gone around and released all of this information. They've done plenty of interviews. All of this information is widely available to the public worldwide. The epidemiology working group closely examined the possibilities of identifying earlier cases of COVID-19 through studies from surveillance of morbidity due to respiratory diseases in and around Wuhan in late 2019. It also drew on national sentinel surveillance data, so look at this. This is the data that was collected. This is crazy. I'll read this from the beginning so that everyone understands what this is. The epidemiology working group closely examined the possibility of identifying earlier cases of COVID-19 through studies from surveillance and morbidity due to respiratory diseases in and around Wuhan in late 2019. It also drew on national sentinel surveillance data, laboratory confirmations of disease, reports of retail pharmacy purchases for antipyretics, cold and cough medications, a convenient subset of stored samples of more than 45 research project samples from the second half of 2019 stored at various hospitals in Wuhan, the rest of Hubei province, and other provinces. In none of these studies was there any evidence of an impact of the causative agent of COVID-19 on morbidity in the months before the outbreak of COVID-19. Wow. Furthermore, surveillance data on all-cause mortality and pneumonia-specific mortality from Wuhan City and the rest of Hubei province were reviewed. The documented rapid increase in all-cause mortality and pneumonia-specific deaths in the third week of 2020 indicated the virus transmission was widespread among the population of Wuhan by the first week of 2020. The steep increase in mortality, which is correct. Everything so far is verifiable. Okay, just so that everyone understands. This is the thing that YouTube supposedly wants you to believe in. And I agree with them. Because they're about, this is, the scientific community involved in all of this research is massive, okay? To be able to suggest that this WHO report is not believable is basically the same thing at this point as saying global warming is not believable. We're almost there at this point. But again, they have all the details here. This is great. Great data. Both surveillance data and cases reported to the National Notifiable Disease Reporting System in China were subjected to clinical review. The NNDRS was notified of 174 COVID-19 cases with onset of symptoms in December 2019. In an extensive exercise by 223 health institutions in Wuhan, some 76,253 records of cases of respiratory conditions in the 2 months of October and November before the outbreak in late 2019 were scrutinized clinically. Although 92 cases were considered to be compatible with COVID-19 infection after review, subsequent testing and further external multidisciplinary clinical review. So even more. Subsequent testing and further external multidisciplinary clinical review determined that none was in fact due to SARS-CoV-2 infection. Wow. Based on the analysis of this and other surveillance data, it is considered unlikely that any substantial transmission of SARS-CoV-2 infection was occurring in Wuhan during those 2 months. So there wasn't substantial transmission in Wuhan during those 2 months, according to the WHO, according to all of these scientists, all of these organizations, international scientists from tons of countries. Many of the earlier cases were associated with the Wuhan, I don't know how to say that, sorry, market, but a similar number of cases were associated with other markets. And I want to mention that WHO is very vague in places where it shouldn't be vague. And this is one of those places where it kind of makes you think, do you know what those other markets are? Do you want to tell us what those other markets are? If Wuhan, China is not the place that we should be looking at, can we talk about specifics here? Or is the WHO going to be secret about that part? Well, they are going to be secretive about that part, unfortunately. And some were not associated with any markets. Transmission within the wider community in December could account for cases not associated with the Wuhan market, which, together with the presence of early cases not associated with that market, could suggest that the Wuhan market was not the original source of the outbreak. There you go. So, YouTube, I hope you're censoring all of those people who say otherwise, because this is the WHO right here. Are you gonna let everyone spread their fake news about this? Are you gonna be okay with that? Is that what you'd like to do? Other milder cases that were not identified, however, could provide the link between the Wuhan market and early cases without an apparent link to the market. No firm conclusion, therefore, about the role of Wuhan market in the origin of the outbreak or how the infection was introduced into the market can currently be drawn. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. They have nothing. Nothing. Zero. They spent all of that money on all of that research and they found nothing. This right here is going to be the 21st. This is going to be the modern weapons of mass destruction lie reveal right here. Do you remember when there was no weapons of mass destruction, that was actually a lie? Do you remember when that information started leaking? Well, here's the same exact thing, but for COVID-19. This is going to be the most groundbreaking thing that the WHO claims. And YouTube, I just want to mention that if anyone contradicts the WHO, that their content should be removed and counted as medical misinformation as well. And so this kind of bullshit is kind of fucked up. Why are you censoring me and not censoring this monster of a person who's just freely saying the stuff that he says? Now listen to what he says during this interview, and we'll talk about it. Now that we've gone through so much, actually no, let's I think there's a little bit more in the summary, but let me just double check. Yeah, I highly encourage everyone to go through this paper. I put a link in the description for everyone. So they went through 80,000 wildlife, livestock, and poultry samples from 31 provinces in China. Nothing. But then all of a sudden they start talking about cold chain products. What are cold chain products? Cold chain products are products that are manufactured by the food industry that require to be cold. They need to be cold. And so these are usually processed foods, like meat packing foods, like the result that those high density farms produce, like those. Interesting. Because I think high density farming ends up in the cold chain products. What? Yeah, you're right. You're right, Cody. Look at this. Did you know this? That high density farming leads to cold chain products. It's a part of the food chain network. And if you scroll down to what are all the possibilities that there are 4 hypotheses according to the report. Here's the table of contents. The possible pathways of emergence. There's the direct zoonotic transmission, which was not the most likely one. There's introduction through intermediate host, followed by zoonotic transmission, which is the most likely one. And then the cold chain one is, I think, only possible, is what they ranked it as. But here's the explanation of what that means. So let's take a look at what this hypothesis. This is the hypothesis that the WHO has. This is the one that's likely to very likely. Here's an explanation. COVID-19 is transmitted from an animal reservoir to an animal host, followed by subsequent spread within that intermediate host, like maybe cows or pigs. What is that intermediate host, WHO? You going to tell us that? You going to tell us that it was actually really Tyson and their fucking chicken factories, maybe? Or was it the other high-density farming? I think there are, but really, there's really like an oligarchy, I think, with our Food Network right now. And I'm pretty certain Tyson's looking kind of sketchy right now, especially considering that there's this intermediate host that has to be in high-density farming. Which company has been exposed many times for high-density farming? Which one was that? Oh, they bought the politicians. That's right. Never mind. Maybe that's why it's just called an intermediate host. And then transmission to humans. The passage through an intermediate host can be without group of animals top or with group of animals bottom row, virus adaptation. And then they give this picture. The thing that spread this thing was high-density farming, which is common in many places across the world. Which, yeah, you're right. Which places? China, the US, and pretty much every country. They all have high-density farming. We're all guilty of the mechanism that's causing all of these viruses. We're all guilty of that, which is problematic, heavily problematic. Here it says in high-density farms, there often are connections between farms, for instance, through the workforce and food supply, leading to complex transmission pathways that may be difficult to unravel, as was observed in other zoonotic outbreaks involving farmed animals. Farmed animals. Possible hosts. Look at this picture from the WHO. The farmed animals. The possible intermediate hosts. That looks like a rat. Like a fox? And like a armadillo? I don't think we have high density farms for any of these animals here. Hey, WHO. Why don't you have like chickens in there, or like cows in there, or like turkeys in there? Or pigs? None of those? We don't have high density farms for chickens, cows? No, but we have high density farms for what? WHO? Bats? Or no, is it foxes, armadillos, rats? There's a giant cover-up going on, folks, and the WHO is trying to hide something here, and it should be very obvious to you that the WHO is claiming, first, that China is probably not responsible for the origin of this virus. They're also not telling you what the other intermediate hosts are throughout the fucking report. They have all this information about intermediate hosts, intermediate hosts, intermediate hosts, intermediate hosts. And they talk about high density farming, but they only show pictures of a rat, an armadillo, and for some reason now okay, now it's good. Sorry. I was like expecting YouTube to drop me right there. I mean, it's kind of weird how like this video has a max of like one viewer. I think that's me. All of my videos get at least 10 views, 10 viewers, live streamers. At least. This is strange. This happened the same time I was talking about the Republic of China. The People's Republic of China, that one live stream, all of a sudden, all of my viewers went to 0. It went from 4 like that. Why? I didn't say anything wrong. They didn't anything. Just went from 14 to 0. And the connection was perfectly fine. I ended up uploading the video too. They have video to be uploaded, but the live stream just went from 14 to 0, and now it's only 1. It's weird. All of this is really strange, YouTube and WHO. See, why is this happening? The internet connection is somehow bad. Really? Over 100 gigabits per no, sorry. That's total lie. Over 100 megabits per second, I think it is. And interesting. Is just like all of a sudden extremely slow. And the data can't go through. That's weird. All of these coincidences are becoming incredibly weird. Look at this. I'll show everyone. Are you serious, YouTube? This is not normal at all. This is absolutely not normal at all. This doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, this kind of bullshit is nonsense. My internet's fine. Look at this. Hold on. Speed test. Let's see this. How the fuck is my internet going slow right now? There's no way. What the fuck is this? Look at that. There's your proof. There's it. Come on. Come on. I don't fucking understand that at all. Oh, well, I can understand like if it's competing against the other thing, but I mean, maybe that's just because I'm uploading a bunch of stuff to the live stream, but the fact that it's just like loading and so no one has access to this live stream, that's nonsense. My stream is being slowed down somehow. I have 100 megabits per second internet speed right now. This is wrong. YouTube, I don't know what you're doing, but this is really bizarre, but I'm just going to keep going. That's fine. So I'm going to keep exposing these people, these individuals. Oh, this is Tarkus. My bad. This is the wrong this is my recreational stuff. Yeah, there it is. Come on, pause it. That was my bad. Sorry, everyone. Sorry. Emerson Lincoln Palmer. Didn't mean to play that. That was my bad. Anyways, let's see here. Let's go through the CDC director's interview and let's see him lie. Let's see what he has to say. He's going to contradict the WHO.
If I was to guess,
Right
this
here.
virus started transmitting somewhere in September, October in Wuhan.
September, October.
That's my own view. It's an only opinion. I'm allowed to have opinions now.
You're allowed to have opinions, but you're also allowed to accept the facts, the science. Because the science says that it wasn't a lab. Definitely wasn't a lab. That was the big thesis hidden, tucked away in this WHO report. Really hard to find it, but if you pay careful attention to this one line right here. In view of the above, a laboratory origin of the pandemic was considered to be extremely unlikely. What was to be extremely unlikely? This hypothesis. What was that hypothesis? That COVID-19 is introduced through a laboratory incident reflecting an accidental infection of staff from laboratory activities involving the relevant viruses. We did not consider the hypothesis of deliberate release or deliberate bioengineering of COVID-19. The latter has been ruled out by other scientists following analysis of the genome. And there's a citation to that, and I believe, let's see what that citation is. This is from Nature Medicine. So that's the citation right there. Pretty believable shit. You should definitely be reading this WHO report yourself. There's a lot of citations to this. There's a lot of science behind this. This is not just the WHO, folks. This is the scientific community too. So this isn't just the World Health and understand the World Trade Organization is doing something pretty remarkable right now as well. Specifically, South Africa and India has requested Joe Biden to release intellectual property of the vaccines. And luckily, we don't have to do that because these heroes on YouTube, DW News, decided to do a segment talking about how Moderna's mRNA hacked vaccine has been posted online on GitHub for free. Everyone can see it now. Where is it? Let's see what it looks like. GitHub, mRNA, Moderna vaccine. Let's take a look at this. I am incredibly proud of GitHub for posting this on their website, for being brave. They could easily be taken down for doing this. This is what it looks like when the PC Master Race gets together. This is the result of when the PC Master Race says, you know what? Open source everything. Everything. So here it is. This is many, many scientists who have demonstrated what the... I think this is it, right? Let me double check. RNA vaccines have become a key tool in moving forward through the challenges raised both in the current pandemic and in numerous other public health and medical challenges, with RNA species in numerous human populations. Despite their ubiquity, sequences are not always available for such RNAs. Standard methods facilitate such sequencing. In this note, we provide experimental sequence information for the RNA component of the initial Moderna and Pfizer COVID vaccines. Oh, they have the Pfizer one too. Please do something good with this information. Please do something good with this information. I'm not allowed to say certain things on YouTube, but I am allowed to tell you that if you know anyone in pharmacology or drug manufacturing or vaccine manufacturing or just biotech in general, if you know anyone in that industry, talk to them about this, please. Just tell them that this exists. That's all you need to do. And then they can have their own like moral conversation in their own head. They can go through the process and wonder, what should I do with this information? What's the most moral thing that we should be doing with this information? This is looks like this is Pfizer, and looks like this is the Moderna. Hi, Moderna. I'm really glad that you are okay with being lackadaisical with your copyright laws and your private intellectual property. And I'm really glad that you haven't been suing individuals for releasing this information, because I think that's incredibly meaningful, and I think you should continue to not do anything about copyright violations for your mRNA vaccine. And Pfizer, the same goes to you. Okay? That's what I think. Now, let's watch this interview and we can talk about how this guy is he's got a lot of problems to work through.
You know, I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory.
It's from a laboratory. So, excuse me, YouTube police, wherever you're at, we're out there. This is impossible now. Do you understand why? Do you understand that when the when the WHO says specifically that in view of the above, a laboratory origin of the pandemic was considered to be extremely unlikely. This was just released a few days ago, in the end of March. And then the CDC director says this.
I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped. Other people don't believe that. That's fine. Science will eventually figure it out. It's not unusual for respiratory pathogens that are being worked on in a laboratory to infect a laboratory worker.
Interesting.
It is also not unusual for that type of research to be occurring in Wuhan. The city is a widely known center for viral studies in China, including the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which has experimented extensively with bat coronaviruses.
It is a remarkable conversation I feel like we're having here, because you are the former CDC director and you were the director at the time this was all happening.
For the first time, the former CDC director is stating publicly that he believes this pandemic started months earlier than we knew.
And he believes that it started in Wuhan, China, so he lied. So this guy made up a lie. He's the one who lied, and he made up the lie that Wuhan, China is the origin of the coronavirus in a lab. He made up that lie. He lied. He lied, okay? That was what the WHO said. Again, I'll show you. In view of the above, a laboratory origin of the pandemic was considered to be extremely unlikely. This comes directly from the WHO joint report that they released recently in March. I have to go back here, YouTube. How am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to? YouTube doesn't allow content that spreads medical misinformation that contradicts local health authorities. You mean like this guy? Or the World Health Organization? You mean like this claim? You mean like this paper? So, you mean the two people who totally disagree with each other? 100%. So I have to somehow release content that doesn't contradict either one of them. But how can I do that if by default they're already contradictory? How can I do that? Am I supposed to somehow blend these stories together to find oh, look, they're actually not contradictory? What am I supposed to do with this, YouTube? You need to remove this, and you need to remove your community strike on me. Because everything I put on that video about Dr. Fauci, I'm pretty certain is pretty good.
And that it originated, not at a wet market, but inside a lab in China.
Nope.
These are two significant things to say, Dr. Redfield.
And that's not implying any intentionality.
It's not implying intentionality. Well, What Dr. Sanjay Gupta effectively did during this interview was explain as to why his opinion is wrong. It's a lie. He lied. He made the whole thing up about the lab because the claim that it came from a lab was proven wrong by the WHO. That claim is extremely unfounded at this point, according to the WHO and according to tons of countries, like pretty much every other country except the US. Except the US. So, former CDC director just has this opinion. What's his opinion?
Significant things to say, Dr. Redfield.
That's not implying any intentionality.
But if you made up that lie about Wuhan, China, then it looks like you're trying to just arbitrarily throw blame at China, which really begs two questions. First, why did you attack Wuhan, China? Why that city? Why throw the blame there? Because the presupposition here now the conversation is he lied. He lied. WHO again. He lied. The former CDC director lied. The WHO is correct here. This is correct. The former CDC director is incorrect. This is the science. And this is still bullshit. This is still bullshit. And this is still bullshit too. And that thing I highlighted over there, that shouldn't be allowed. That shouldn't be legal. You shouldn't be allowed to say that. Everything else I think should be legally allowed to say. But that thing it highlighted, I don't think that should be legally allowed. I don't think YouTube should have the authority to say that because it threatens me and it makes it extremely difficult for me to expose how the WHO and the ex-CDC boss, the former CDC director, they directly contradict each other. YouTube, they directly contradict each other. And you're giving me a medical misinformation claim, and you're not going to explain what that means. But when you do explain it, you contradict yourself, YouTube, because these people contradict themselves. I can't if I believe one, then I'm calling the other one a liar. No matter what, I have to figure out which one's the liar. Either the WHO, all those scientists, all those organizations, either they're all the liar, or this guy's the liar. Just this guy. This one person. Which is more likely? This is unbelievable. This is the kind of shit that I have to exist in. If I want to become a YouTube socialist popular person with 10K subs, I have to exist on YouTube to follow this bullshit nonsense. I have to somehow mend these stories together, even though they directly contradict each other.
It's my opinion, right? But I am a virologist.
Oh, but he's a virologist. Did you hear that, folks? But he's a virologist, so that's why you should believe him. Not the other thousands of virologists involved in the WHO internationally. No, this one guy, because he is a virologist, you should believe him and not the WHO. That's why.
Spent my life in virology.
He's not a liar.
I do not believe
that's what he's saying.
Somehow came from a bad.
Oh, sorry, I just talked over him.
It's my opinion, right? But I am a virologist. I have spent my life in virology. I do not believe this somehow came from a bat to a human, and at that moment in time, the virus that came to the human became one of the most infectious viruses that we know in humanity for human-to-human transmission. Normally, when a pathogen goes from a zoonotic to human, it takes a while for it to figure out how to become more and more efficient in human.
You're right. And so the only way for it to figure out how to correctly, to evolve through that process, that slow process that you're talking about, evolution, that thing, evolution? Well, evolution works really well for viruses when you herd all of the species together in one high-density farm.
For human-to-human.
I'll let him say it. He's going to say it
now.
now.
When a pathogen goes from a zoonotic to human, it takes a while for it to figure out how to become more and more efficient in human-to-human transmission.
But it's really quick if you go through if the intermediate host that the WHO keeps referencing throughout the entire report is an animal like a pig or a cow or a chicken or a turkey, the things involved in high-density farming. If there's an intermediate host, you have the bat, right? But the problem is, and this is what the WHO says, the problem with the bat theory is that the bat and the bat and the COVID-19 genetics, they differ. They differ in the sense that there has to be something in between. There's like for the evolutionary scientists, there's a missing link, an intermediary host. And so let's say the bats had COVID-19 and they started with COVID-19 according to, and I'll show you the document real quick. Here's the picture, but we'll talk about it a little bit. So you start with a bat or animal X, probably a bat. And then that like one bat with that one virus, it's not really immune, but it let's say bites an animal at a high density farming. Like, for example, let's say we have an American facility with very little regulations and a bat enters that food chain, like the high density farm itself, and bites one of those animals. And then that animal spreads that virus like that because it's a high density farm. Typical evolution, you can't do this because typical evolution, you don't have high density areas. And when you do have high density areas, evolution quickly resolves that, right? You have a quick evolution if you have high density. That's how evolution works, especially for viruses, specifically for viruses, too, I think. No, I think it's for pretty much all life. But for viruses specifically, definitely, 100%. What it does is it starts at an animal X, say a bat, and then it bites one of the animals that is at a high density food market. And let me pull up the actual, here it is. High density food market. Where was the claim? Where was it? High density food market. Oh, here it is. In high density farms, there often are connections between farms, for instance, through the workforce and food supply. So you have high density farms, and when you have like a monopoly, let's say like Tyson, for example, just going to go through an example, hypothetical for you. If this is a hypothetical though, just make sure that you understand that this is what I'm about to say is a hypothetical. I'm not actually making a claim about Tyson here, just so that everyone understands. This is just a hypothetical. So let's say Tyson is a monopoly, right? Let's say that Tyson owns multiple different high-density farms. And let's say that one of those farms gets infected by a bat. One of the animals in one of their farms gets infected with a bat. Well, then what happens is, because that farm is a high-density farm, evolution quickly spreads. But that high-density farm isn't enough, really, to spread quickly. You need an entire network of high-density farms to get the evolution really going. And so with monopolies, it's really common for viruses to spread because it's not just one high-density farm. It's like all of the high-density farms. Now, again, this is just a hypothetical. I'm just going through a hypothetical of where the origin of coronavirus might have come from, what the WHO is hinting towards. But again, they always use intermediate hosts throughout this entire, let me see, intermediate host. 29 times. 29 times. What is the introduction through an intermediate host followed by zoonotic transmission? Here's the explanation of the hypothesis. That COVID-19 is transmitted from an animal reservoir to an animal host, followed by subsequent spread within the intermediate host, and then transmission to humans. And there it is. So like a group of animals that's high density. Now, I already went through this, but for all those who are now new to the live stream, how are we doing? How's the live stream doing? Oh, it's doing pretty bad. Even though everything I'm saying is fucking crazy. Mind-boggling. These are not farm animals. These are not high-density farm animals. What are you doing, WHO? This is a shit graphic. These are not high-density farm. This is not a representation. The possible intermediate hosts that you're talking about here, these are not possible intermediate hosts because we do not have high-density farms of rats. We also don't have high-density farms of armadillos or foxes or whatever these animals are. How about use better graphics that make a little bit more sense, like chicken, pigs, cows, turkey, the meats that most people worldwide actually eat, the things that high-density farmers farm, the animals that high-density farmers farm. How about those animals? Maybe you should use those instead here. Anyways, let's keep going.
I just don't think this makes biological sense.
So in the lab, do you think that process of becoming more efficient was happening? Is that what you were suggesting?
Yeah, let's just say I have coronavirus that I'm working on. Most of us in the lab, we're trying to grow a virus. We try to help make it grow better and better and better and better and better and better so we can do experiments and figure out about it.
So what he's claiming here is fucking insane and unscientific in so many ways. So let me explain what he's saying. So what he's saying is that in Wuhan, China, in a lab, they took a virus and then they somehow managed to evolve that virus many times. None of the intermediaries were somehow released. None of them, but specifically the final product was somehow released to the public. And again, that directly contradicts with the facts released from the WHO. So, medical misinformation, YouTube, YouTube police, where are you?
That's the way I put it together.
Oh, that's the way he puts it together.
It's a pretty extraordinary conversation and a little glimpse of what we revealed sort of within these couple of hours.
Wow. So massive credit to Dr. Sanjay Gupta for exposing the former CDC director. I think I haven't seen the whole 2-hour video yet, but I hope that's released soon. And I hope that we can get answers as to what the intermediate host is. Because once you figure out, once the world figures out what that intermediate host is, everything's going to fall apart. Because here's the facts, folks. The WHO has officially released that there's no evidence that the Wuhan, China lab theory is correct. Zero evidence. They have nothing. The US presented nothing. China presented nothing. All the countries presented nothing. Nothing. So once you expose a lie, let's figure out the last time we exposed a really big lie. What was that? That was Iraq. There was many lies, but this is a big one, right? You all remember what happened with Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, right? Well, just replace weapons of mass destruction with Wuhan, China, Wuhan, China lab, Wuhan, China lab, Wuhan, China lab, Wuhan, the bats in Wuhan, China, Wuhan, China. Well, now that we've proven that that's totally made up specifically by this guy, now that the WHO has shown that it's extremely unlikely, what do we do with that information? Well, we figure out who the culprit is. Then who's guilty? If China's not guilty, then who's guilty? Almost every time, it's the person or the party that's blaming China, Wuhan, China. They're guilty in the same way that the people who accused Iraq of having weapons of mass destruction, they were responsible for the war in Iraq. It turns out that the whole time, and then everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it was actually the CIA and George Bush and Hillary Clinton, and they were all involved, and Joe Biden. They all said weapons of mass destruction, and then they all advocated for war with Iraq." Well, This former CDC director, what he did was he went out and said, Wuhan, China labs, Wuhan, China labs, Wuhan, China labs, Wuhan, China labs. But now that theory has been exposed to be scientifically extremely unlikely. That's interesting. So then, why did you blame Wuhan, China, former CDC director? Why did you do that? What was the motive behind making up that lie? See, what the former CDC director can't do at this point, and eventually he's going to have to do it because the science is spreading. You all now know the science. People are eventually going to watch this video. They're going to know the science. Plenty of people are reading this report and learning the science. Dr. Sanjay Gupta is interviewing this guy and putting pressure on him because he knows the science. But the former CDC director definitely does not know the science. Definitely doesn't know the science. And so that begs the question, why did he frame Wuhan, China? Not did he incorrectly frame Wuhan, China? The question is now, why did he incorrectly frame Wuhan, China? Well, no matter what, I'm going to have to look like a conspiracy theorist, YouTube. No matter what I say, I'm going to have to look like a conspiracy theorist, YouTube. Because if I'm going to have to make claims, that means I'm going to have to go against my local health authorities here. That's incredibly uncomfortable. That makes me incredibly uncomfortable, YouTube. So I'd really like it if you got off my ass and stopped giving me community strikes and threatening to take me down. But I keep saying that, but it's fucking annoying. Censorship is really problematic. And this is how it's problematic, folks. Because they're trying to censor people. They're trying to censor stuff. They've been trying to censor shit, like the whole Wuhan thing, that whole lie, that was fabricated. That was that was manufactured consent. That was a narrative developed by someone. And so someone should be held responsible for said lies and should go out and say what those lies were. And on top of that, YouTube should correct this impossibility right here. That's impossible now. That's literally impossible to do at this point. Impossible to follow this, YouTube. Your guidelines I refuse to follow because I can't. Because logic. Because this guy, my local health official, is saying the exact opposite of what the WHO is saying. Do you understand why it's really problematic to censor the people that... So there were a bunch of people that wanted to call out this guy for bullshit, right? And YouTube censored them all. All of them. Every single fucking one of them. If you went against this guy over the last year, you would have been censored. I'm really concerned the fact that I only have 2 concurrent viewers right now. I'm really concerned that YouTube is currently trying to censor me when this is incredibly abnormal for my YouTube channel. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I have to have a conspiracy theory now. I have to say something. I have to give a reason why this guy lied. Why would the former CDC director lie? I have to say it. I'll give you my opinion. Because the US is responsible for COVID-19. That's my view. That's why he lied. Because the US, not China, the US was responsible for the production, the manufacturing the result of this process that the WHO talks about, the only liar internationally that first blamed Wuhan, China was this guy. And so this guy manufactured a lie It's unbelievable. That means he has something to hide. That means he's trying to construct a narrative because there's a different narrative that he doesn't want exposed. What is that narrative, former CDC director? The only one I can think of is that he's guilty. Somehow, that he's involved in the responsibility of this process. That's why he would lie. That's a really good reason to lie. That's a really good reason for this CDC director to say, oh shit, hey, the US made COVID-19 and it's going to kill millions of people. Oh, maybe we should pick on the People's Republic of China and get the US Americans really mad at China and just push China propaganda throughout the mainstream media, throughout YouTube. And meanwhile, YouTube censoring anyone who's going against this guy who has been exposed as a liar. A liar. He lied. Wrong. Extremely unlikely. Lied. Zero evidence. Why did you lie? What's the motivation behind lying? Why did you start this blame and not like the UK? And not like Canada? Why did the US start this lie? The answer to that is a really dark answer, and I think we all know what it is. And I've been burying the lead this whole time, but this is the logical consequence of, because if the former CDC director lied and the WHO proved that lie, then the only reason he would lie is because he has a narrative that he's trying to cover up. And the only reason a CDC director, the US CDC director, would have anything to cover up behind COVID-19 is because they're responsible. Because the US CDC has something to hide, has a narrative to push, has a lie to propagate. The WHO proved it. All the scientists, all those organizations I detailed throughout this video, all of them proved this throughout this report, this joint report. Massive international study. So, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen now is that over time, we're going to find that this guy has a lot of shit that he's hiding. And what that shit is, no matter what, if it's the US started it, whatever it is, it's some dark shit. But I want to play the rest of this because Dr. Sanjay Gupta deserves credit for everything because he says something else in this video that's really important. Let's keep playing it.
And at that moment in time, the virus that came to the human became one of the most infectious viruses that we know in humanity for human-to-human transmission. Normally when a pathogen goes from a zoonotic to human, it takes a while for it to figure out.
Yeah, you need a high-density farm.
More efficient in human-to-human transmission.
So you need a high-density farm to get that evolution going, not a lab. Not a lab. Not. Why are you protecting the high-density food industry? Who are the members of the high-density food industry in the US? Tyson. Now, I want to give you my opinion, and this opinion is going to make me look like a conspiracy theorist, but this opinion has been substantiated significantly with scientific claims and logical a logical sequence here, right? So the former CDC director lied. We know he lied. We know that. The WHO proved that with all of their scientists and all of their international studies. Tons of them. This is the only guy that that made the claim that Wuhan, China, started the CDC with a lab. Only guy. And so this guy, either this guy's the liar, either this man is lying, or all of those fucking international scientists from all of the countries are lying. This is a conversation just like global warming. Are you going to believe Turning Point USA and PragerU about global warming? Or those like one or two people that are talking about that? Or are you going to believe every fucking scientist that have done tons of research studies from multiple countries? If you think that this is just a statement that the WHO is making, you're dead fucking wrong. I read through the summary and there are tons of organizations behind the research, behind the science, to be able to make this crazy statement that directly contradicts this ex-CDC director, meaning that he lied, meaning that he has a reason to lie, meaning that he has a narrative to hide, which is why he's the former CDC director probably. This guy doesn't want to be involved in the shit scandal that he's in. He's involved in a shit scandal, and now he needs to get out of it somehow. He can't, though. And so he has to continue the lie. And he has to say, it's just my opinion. He can't say that it's science now. And on YouTube, it looks like I can have 3 viewers see me shit on this guy. I'm shitting on this guy and showing you that this guy lied to you. And so you need to ask the question, why did he lie? What's the purpose of lying about Wuhan, China? What's the purpose of lying, former CDC director? Why did you lie? Fuck, I want Dr. Sanjay Gupta to ask that question. I wish Dr. Sanjay Gupta had this in his hand. Oops. Anyways, I want to keep going because there's so much to say here.
Escaped. Other people don't believe that. That's fine. Science.
Here we go. Sorry.
September, October.
That's my own view. It's an only opinion. I'm allowed to have opinions now. I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan.
Sorry, I got to read a live chat real quick because I'm reading this. Flesk says they may not have conducted it, but they rubber stamped it, didn't they? What about the year they had to wash the info? Do you think the study could have come to any other conclusion considering the CCP was involved? The CCP was involved, but so were many other international scientists from many, 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 many countries. Many countries. And there were observers from multiple countries as well to observe the scientists from multiple countries doing their science in the Wuhan labs. All of it's public information, and you could look at all of it. It's all on the WHO, and all the citations have all of the data. You can go through every single citation. It's not the WHO science. There are no WHO scientists that are, well, I mean, there might be, but throughout this research report, there is plenty of scientific evidence to back the WHO scientists and the science claims throughout this report. So Samuel Roche says, when you're using thousands of mice to breed a new supervirus, which the USA does as well, turns out they breed pretty fucking fast. Don't buy a word of what the WHO tells you. I would definitely believe a lot of the words that the WHO tells you because the WHO has citations. Like everything that's in this article, it's a scientific article. And this is not like an opinion-based thing. Every single thing has references. Every single section has references. Like little tiny section has references. And I mean, these are, every section has just an overwhelming amount of scientific evidence to back a lot of the studies. Or to back a lot of the claims. There's a lot of studies to back a lot of the claims. I don't know why that's really hard to say. So, I I would believe a lot of what the WHO says, because what they're saying is definitely not what this guy's saying. This guy is saying nonsense. He's making a bullshit. And we know it's bullshit, and Dr. Sanjay Gupta is pointing it out. Samuel Roche says, out of any city on Earth where a new supervirus could begin, it just so happens to be Wuhan, China, the very place where they literally breed super strains of bat coronavirus. So that's not true. So that if you go through the WHO debunks this claim. This was the first hypothesis, and it was deemed to be, I think it was very unlikely, was their conclusion. And the reason for that is because if you look at the genetics of bats and the genetics of COVID-19, there is required by evolutionary science a missing link between the DNA. The DNA is separated by several decades, which doesn't make any sense. You should ask yourself, how can a bat manage to do several decades worth of evolution in a matter of a few months? And on top of that, they throughout this study, they investigated not only bats, they actually did 80,000 animal species, I believe it was. It wasn't just bats. Where is it? It was in the summary of the report. And I mean, I would watch the whole video, the whole entire video that I go through. Yeah, here are a bunch of international teams involved in this. These are some of them. And there are observers as well to all of these. So this is like there are no other studies out there that are more verifiable than this. Other than maybe global warming. Maybe. But they're really close. Like, saying global warming is not scientific at this point is just as crazy as saying that that coronavirus came from Wuhan, China. That's the claim that the WHO is making and all of these scientists are making. And that's the claim, actually, that every other country except the US accepts now. That's what they accept to be true. The US and this ex-CDC director, we're alone. We're the only ones making up this nonsense, making this claim at this point. It was a claim made by Trump. It was a claim that Biden is holding on to because they all know who's really responsible. And you and I both know who's really responsible.
One was from a laboratory, escaped. Other people don't believe that. That's fine. Science will eventually figure it out. It's not unusual for respiratory pathogens that are being worked on in a laboratory to infect a laboratory worker.
It is also not unusual for that type of research to be occurring in Wuhan. The city is a widely known center for viral studies in China, including the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which has experimented extensively.
Let me skip to the interview.
With bat coronaviruses.
So here's your question about bat coronaviruses. Here you go.
It is a remarkable conversation I feel like we're having here, because you are the former CDC director and you were the director at the time this was all happening.
For the first time,
you were. So like Dr. Sanjay Gupta is saying, this is really interesting. Like this claim you made about the lab, weren't you the director of the CDC at the time?
CDC director is stating publicly that he believes this pandemic started months earlier than we knew, and that it originated not at a wet market, but inside a lab.
Now, a wet market is not anywhere in the WHO report, I should mention. So this, I couldn't find anything about the everything I showed you about the Wuhan market. It showed that there was no evidence to suggest that the Wuhan market was involved whatsoever. So everything about the wet market, or the fish markets and everything, there's no trace. They found no traces, no evidence. But they found evidence in the cold chain part of China, in the food chain. It's called the cold chain, and it's specifically the food chain where specifically the food is required to be kept at cold temperatures. They found some evidence that there was some coronavirus, and it could have gotten in China. In this report, it says it could have gotten it from a far away distance. And the only reason the WHO would say that is because the US is fucking far away from China. They're trying to make it as, or Europe. It could be Europe too. Technically, the WHO does not blame the US. But considering this is the guy that the former CDC director was the guy that made this lie up, do you think it's the UK that did it? It's not China. Is it the UK? Is it India, the one that wants to make the vaccine public intellectual property? No, it's probably not them because they're socialist too. What about Vietnam? They're socialist too. And they allowed they have all these scientists involved in tons of studies in Asia right now, going through all of what's going. They don't have coronavirus problem over there. We do. That's also coincidental, huh? Former CDC director, that we have all these like deaths and China has less than 5 cases daily. Daily. They don't need to produce vaccines in China, and they're producing vaccines anyway at a rate faster than we are. And they're doing it at like 100th of the cost.
In China.
These are two significant things to say, Dr. Redfield.
And that's not implying any intentionality.
No.
You know,
not trying to blame China.
Right, but
it's
I
my
am
opinion.
a virologist. I have spent.
I'm not participating in anti-Asian hate whatsoever. That even though I made up the whole Chinese virus thing was made up by this guy fucking fabricated, manufactured that claim that was proven by multiple scientists. Wow, that's so bizarre.
You know, it's my opinion, right?
Oh.
But I am a virologist. I have spent my life in virology.
Oh, so then you must be.
I do not believe this
must be right.
somehow came from a bat to a human, and at that moment in time, the virus that came to the human became one of the most infectious viruses that we know in humanity.
So that's a lie. That's also a lie. That's another lie because the WHO specifically says that it's not. That specifically there is an intermediate host that is required. Let me show you. Again, the hypothesis of introduction through intermediate hosts followed by zoonotic transmission, where you have a bat and then an intermediary host. This was the one that was considered to be likely or very likely according to the WHO. This is the one. Not the lab shit from Wuhan, China. That stuff was bullshit according to the scientists. That lie was a lie very similar to the weapons of mass destruction lie. This guy basically went out and said, China has weapons of mass destruction. China has weapons of mass destruction. China has weapons of mass destruction. And now the WHO is proving that China has no weapons of mass destruction. And so now we go back to the source. And now we have to ask, so why did you say that China had weapons of mass destruction? Now, weapons of mass destruction, what I really mean in this case, in this specific case, is making a lie about a Wuhan lab. That's totally a lie. And he knows it, and Dr. Sanjay Gupta is calling him out in his fucking face.
For human-to-human transmission. Normally when a pathogen goes from a zoonotic to human, it takes a while for it to figure out how to become more and more efficient in human-to-human transmission.
Yeah, you would need like hundreds of thousands of animals, if not millions of animals to be able to do something like this evolution. Like this, there needs to be an intermediate host that can be able to manage somehow millions and millions of what's the word I'm looking for? Spreads. Like you need to be able to spread the virus to millions and millions of that same species somehow. The intermediate host that was discussed in the WHO joint report, it's either chickens, it could be fish, it's probably chickens, cows, turkey, and the fourth one was chickens, cows, turkey, pigs. Yeah, they're high density farm animals where you can like spread throughout the entire food chain like that because all the pigs are just right next to each other and they could just immediately spread the virus. And so the virus can evolve quickly. You don't need to wait for the virus to spread. You don't need millions of years for the virus to spread. You can have the virus spread quickly. because of high-density farming. High-density farming is killing us, and that's what the WHO report revealed. That high-density farming is not just the reason for COVID-19. It's the reason for the flu. It's the reason for the influenza. It's the reason for what's the other one? I went over the list earlier in this video, so you can look that up. High-density farming. That's the thing.
I just don't think this makes biological sense.
So in the lab, do you think that process of becoming more efficient was happening?
He's calling his bullshit in his fucking face. He's like, you're saying that the lab... Look at him. Look at Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
In the lab, do you think that process of becoming more efficient was happening? Is that what you were suggesting?
Yeah, let's just say I have coronavirus that I'm working on. Most of us in the lab, we're trying to grow a virus. We try to help make it grow better and better and better and better and better and better so we can do experiments and figure out about it. That's the way I put it together.
That's the way you put it together, but it's not the way WHO put it together, bitch. Because WHO put it together a little bit differently than you did. Quite a significant difference, actually. They're saying that there was a bat and then an intermediate host, something either like a chicken, a cow, a pig, a turkey. High density farming. That's what the WHO specifically said. And then it went to humans. There was that intermediate thing. The bats didn't cause the coronavirus. The bats gave the coronavirus to an intermediate host. Something was in between humans and bats. Something. And somehow, traces in China of the coronavirus could be found in only one part of China. The cold chain. The food chain. The food supply chain. The part of it where you have to freeze stuff. Now, why is that significant? Why not the whole food industry of China? Why is it significant that they only found the virus in the cold chain? Well, that means that China probably didn't originate with the virus. That cold chain, that food product was probably shipped from a different country. And so if China only has cold chain products with traces of coronavirus, then that means that it didn't originate from China. It probably originated as far away from China as possible, and the only thing that got to China successfully was the actual food supply itself from the high-density farms themselves. So who gave us coronavirus? It was the high-density farms. They gave frozen food to China, and that's how they got coronavirus. They gave frozen food to different countries. That's how they got the coronavirus. The food supply fucked us over. It was the food supply chain. But it's not just the food supply chain. It's high density farming that that was the origin of the coronavirus. Most likely. It was likely to very likely was the quote from WHO. This is crazy. This story is going to explode. You're all seeing me say this, but then in like a month or 2 months, you're going to see a bunch of other like journalists start catching up with me. And then I'm going to reference this video. And then I'm going to be like, hey, everyone, look at me. I was right all along. I called out the former CDC director for lying, and I'm claiming that he is responsible for COVID-19. And I'm going to reference this video in the future, and I'm going to be right. I mean, I'm already right in many, many ways, according to the WHO. It's just a matter of waiting for the journalists to catch up. I'm already right. I'm correct. YouTube is incorrect. YouTube gives me impossible tasks to somehow be consistent with the medical information from both my local health authorities, like the former CDC director, for example, he's a local health authority, or the WHO. But when they contradict each other, then doing this is impossible. So, yeah, YouTube probably should change that policy. At least tweak it.
It's a pretty extraordinary conversation and a little glimpse of what we revealed sort of within these couple of hours. I should point out the World Health Organization calls the lab leak theory unlikely, and Chinese officials have started
extremely unlikely, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Extremely unlikely. Let me show you all. Extremely unlikely. Please don't just quote that word. Don't do that. I know what you're trying to do here. You're trying to make it seem like it still could be possible by just saying unlikely so that people still have it as like a theory that they can like hang around the status quo and debate with their friends, and you can spread that misinformation around by just saying unlikely and not giving the whole story. So, YouTube, maybe you should do something about all this spreading of misinformation, because during this interview, what has been said so far is that Wuhan, China is responsible. WHO proved that wrong. That it could have been from the wet markets or whatever, from Wuhan, but that was also proven wrong by the WHO. But we're not going to give the actual full story. We're just going to spread misinformation on YouTube via a CNN interview. So keep in mind, Dr. Sanjay Gupta gets credit for doing a lot here. But he doesn't get all the credit because a lot of the stuff is really kind of like, you're not giving the whole story. You're not telling us what the WHO is really saying. You're just kind of like pretending like you know the facts as though you're the WHO yourself. Even though instead of just like relying on the facts, the science itself.
Increasingly pointing to a multiple origin theory, saying that this pandemic may have started in multiple places, even around the world, including U.S. military labs.
U.S. military labs is a theory, but that's not a theory that was suggested within the WHO. I'm really curious, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, because I know he's going to watch this video, and I hope he does, because I'm doing a lot of analysis on his stuff right now, and I know I'm gonna get enough views. I've already got enough views to warrant at least some sort of eventual view in the future. Like so far, the rate of this, eventually this video is gonna have enough views so that Dr. Sanjay Gupta can see this, and I hope he can DM me on Twitter. Find me in my DMs, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and I'm really curious by what you mean by this.
Increasingly pointing to a multiple origin theory, saying that this pandemic may have started in multiple places, even around the world, including U.S. military labs.
Please DM me and tell me what you mean by that, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, because I'm really interested. Because that theory is not anywhere within this report. The whole concept of bioengineering was strictly not looking at. They didn't look at that in the WHO. They specifically said it's been ruled out by genetic studies. They ruled that case out. So, the WHO has a lot of important things to say, but the WHO is also corrupt. So don't think that like I'm defending the WHO, telling you like, believe everything they say. Because they are doing things in this article that are very obvious. For example, using the word intermediate host throughout this whole article. Again, Alt Control F, intermediate host, 29 times. They never talk about like what that probably is. They'd say high density food, like here and there, but it's pretty obvious what they really mean. Chicken, pork, cows, turkey, one of the major meats, one of the high density food markets. That's responsible. I'm going to read the live chat real quick. St. Michael of Cigario. I don't know if I said that right. I'm sorry. I probably messed that up. I'm really sorry. He says, nobody watches your videos because you argue like a woman, all emotions, little to no facts. You sexually prefer male partners, don't you? That's fucking great. Hey, St. Michael of Cigarlo. This guy, nobody watches my videos. Yeah, Maybe you shouldn't. So you think it's because I argue like a woman? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by argue like a woman? All emotions, little to no facts. That is so fucking sexist, man. Like that's pretty fucking sexist. You sexually prefer male partners, don't you? If I said yes, then would you have a problem with that? Would you have something to say about that? Do you have a problem with my personal freedoms? Do you want to do you want to start talking about them? Do you want to start talking about how like that's a bad, like you want to prevent me from doing whatever I want to do? I'm not gay, by the way. But 100% against the concept of monogamy. Fuck monogamy. Ethically non-monogamous, bitch. And St. Michael of Sigario says, your arguments are based more upon emotions than on facts. Yeah, because citing fucking scientific studies, using tons of fucking scientists, all of these scientists, man, oh my goodness, look at all these feelings. Okay, St. Michael, can you tell me where all these feelings are coming from? Can you tell me what these feelings feel like? What do these feelings feel like to you, Michael? Is this the feelings that you were looking for? Is this the thing that you say women do? That they only have emotions and no facts? Because there are actually plenty of women here who have revealed quite a bit of facts. Do you have any? Do you have any facts? Or do you want to let this former CDC director try to fucking defend your case, who looks like an absolute moron right now, who I absolutely shit on during this video? Go ahead and defend him, please, in my live chat. Do it. St. Michael of Sigario says, do you prefer male sexual partners, right? No. Next up, you sure come off as a limp-wristed type. Do you have a problem against limp-wristed people? Fucking, like, this guy's you, like, sound like you just give a bunch of hate speech, and that's, like, all you like to do. Like, you just like talking to shit to people. Why don't you find a better hobby to do? Why don't you, like, shit on yourself instead? Like, if you're gonna shit on people, like, this is a really weird way of doing it. I don't believe that you were straight. Appeal to authority. Oh, you mean science. You mean science. So you don't like the whole concept of appeal to science. Really? That's your philosophy of science. That you don't like appeal to science. Because this isn't authority. This is called science. Scientists, they do have authority. Did you know that? And they have the authority to make scientific claims, especially if you have a lot of them. Did you know that? And did you know that you can develop a philosophy of science? You probably have one yourself. Did you know that you probably watch the Weather Channel and believe the shit that you see? Did you know that? You watch the Weather Channel and you believe the shit that you see. Why do you believe the shit that you see? Oh, because of math. Oh, you mean that thing I decided to teach as a professor for fucking 2 years. Well, not as a professor, but as a full-time instructor. For 2 years. And then as a TA for 1.5 years. And a PhD program. 2 of them. So go ahead, Michael. Go ahead. Tell me about your feelings. Tell me about all of the lack of facts in this live chat, because I don't see any sources. Do you not like sources, Michael? Do you like your feelings? Is that the thing that you want to, like, just only discuss here? You don't want to actually throw me any of, like, a scientist or anything? Or is that appeal to authority? Am I supposed to only appeal to your authority? You're the authority I'm supposed to appeal to, huh? Not them. Damn it, I wish I knew that. Oh, Michael, you should have told me that. Michael, I was supposed to listen to you the whole time and appeal to you instead of science. Damn it, Michael. You should have told me that earlier. You should have showed up my channel earlier. And you should have told me that listening to scientists is a really bad philosophy of science, that I should be instead listening to Michael and his feelings. Let's see what he has to say. You can't name any of the scientists you support. I can't name any of the scientists, really? Do you know how to read? Like, because this is what throughout this entire thing, I have a bunch of scientists here. So I'm really curious of why you're trying to shit on women and the LGBTQ plus community right now, Michael. You sound incredibly sexist. You sound homophobic. And you sound like you have a lot of personal problems and feelings that you need to address. And maybe you should address them before posting your science, because you don't have any science yet. You need to do that part first before you come to my show and you try to tell me that I don't have science. Oh, this is just appeal to authority. I got to appeal to Michael's. Hey, everyone. Appeal to Michael's philosophy of science. Don't believe my philosophy of science. I just believe all of these, morons here with their fucking PhDs. Fucking dumbasses. I should believe Michael because he's religious. Probably. Well, he says Saint Michael, so he's religious, so. Same old appeal to authority fallacy. Now he's trying to pull the pretentious act. Typical leftist nonsense. Look at how easily he was triggered. You've sent me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 posts, but I'm triggered. You're right, I'm fucking triggered because you're shitting on women and you're being homophobic. So I'm going to stand up for them because you're being an asshole and you need to stop. So if you want to call me triggered, fucking fine. Go ahead. Call me triggered, Mr. 25 poster. You posted on my live chat 25 fucking times after me showing you all of these scientists, and you want to call me triggered. That's fucking hilarious. How about I don't like the fact that you throw women under the bus and say that women only have feelings and that men have facts. I think that's incredibly sexist. I think you're incredibly sexist for saying that. Look at him. He's still triggered. He's still commenting as if because he knows he's being publicly exposed as a fucking idiot by saying all this shit. Look on the live chats, folks. What else do we have here? Yeah, Flies is like, Michael, why are you trolling? I'm not trolling. So this is same Michael of Cigareo, not Flesk. I'm not trolling. I'm just stating the obvious about this channel and his content. A bunch of Chinese so-called scientists? No, Michael. If you watch my actual video, you'll learn that not everyone here is Chinese. You racist. You're being racist now. Yeah, look at this. Flesk says, look, half of them aren't even fucking Chinese, dude. Do you understand? Like, before you get so triggered, before you keep posting on my live chat, this is so much fun. I love this. It's just easy, It's just people like this. They listen, my audience, understand something. Never attack people, attack ideas. This guy on the live chat, he's saying this is the difference between me and Vosh. You want to know how I'm different from Vosh? He's not a low IQ person. This person who's saying in the live chat that women only have feelings and that men have the facts and that I'm just gay. I'm not going to call that person a low IQ person. I'm not going to call this person, you can't. Look at that. He says you can't. Yeah, because I don't like attacking people, man, because that's fucked up, because I'm a utilitarian and I care about the maximization of happiness of all sentient beings, including yourself. So I care about your happiness too. Now you only care about your, whatever your religious, mumbo jumbo is or whatever, but listen, here's how my philosophy differs from the other leftists. I don't think that we should shit on people. I think we should shit on your ideas. And Michael, your ideas are incredibly racist and sexist and homophobic. And it should be called out on my channel. And so if you want to post this bullshit, I'm going to ban you. Ah, fuck. No, I shouldn't ban him. No, let him talk. What do you think? I don't know. I'll let my other 4 viewers decide. Should we let this fucking guy go, get away with saying the shit that he says? With only 200 subs. Do you understand what the K means? When you see 2K, do you understand what the K means? K means 1,000. 1,000. Okay. I can get more viewers than this. Oh, really? Let's see. I'm glad you said that because I believe we can actually search you. I'm glad you have a YouTube account because I get to search you up in front of everyone right here. ST. Here, let me, so that people don't actually see that part. ST Michael of Cigarillo. Let's see what this guy has to offer. Interesting. This is really interesting. You didn't tell me that you only had 200 subs. That's called projection, Michael. You should probably know that projection is just an emotional response. An emotional response, not a factual response, an emotional response. Okay? So, when you tell me that I have 200 subs, when in reality I have, let's see, 2350, okay? So 2350 and you have 233. That's it. Just 233. And you accuse me of having 200 subs. And what are the kind of videos that you post? You post horizontal stretched out image thumbnails of, what is this? John Wayne on liberals and socialism. Get ready, folks. This one has 76 views somehow.
You know, it's a funny thing, the Indians now, this AIM group have started something that now they're against me for some reason, but I am the only man in pictures that...
You fucking post John Wayne interviews on YouTube. You have nothing to offer other than this. This is what you have, a stretched out horizontal thumbnail and a speech that you stole that's not yours. It's not even yours. You just... Do you have any commentary on this?
Michael, proven that...
Nothing. My God, dude, that's not how you get views. Oh, is this you? Is this you? Hey, look, son, a beta male. Oh, you must watch, who is it? Who's the guy? You must watch that one, YouTuber who has, who's the guy? Someone help me out in the chats. Who's the one that talks about beta male? Beta, who's that? Someone help me out with that one. You have a certain affection for certain YouTube hosts.
Hey, Dad, can I go to the store and get a strawberry pop? I don't know. Go ask your mama. I recommend that you overcome your mother.
So I can play just little bits and pieces of this. I can't play the whole thing, but I get to... So here's the cool thing, Michael. I can play this on my live stream and not get a copyright strike. You know what's really cool? You can't give me a copyright strike because I'm making fun of your shit. So because I'm making fun of your shit and saying like you're hypocritical for doing all the shit that you do on my live chat by throwing women under the bus and throwing the LGBTQ community under the bus, being racist on my channel, you're going to be exposed and you're going to be shown that you project. That's what you're doing. You're projecting and you need to stop. And you need to just stop. Just stop. Okay. I'm sure you left at this point. Okay, so yeah, Flask says committed on the screen. Go back to earlier in the video or read the article yourself. 17 Chinese and 17 foreigners. Thank you, Flask. You're absolutely right. Michael says, women making judgments based on emotions is sexist. No, assuming that women make judgments based on emotion and men make judgments based on facts, that is sexist. Yes, correct. 100% correct. Correct. He called me a moron, and he says, I'm talking about my channel with 200 subs, free advertising. Nice. Hey, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I advertise. I'm sure all my audience just saw what I just did, and they're all going to run over to you and give you more subs. But the thing is, the problem is it still says 233, Michael. So even though I'm giving you advertisement here, people aren't subbing. I wonder why that is, Michael. Maybe that's because I'm exposing the fact that you're sexist. You're being sexist, I should say. You're being racist, and you're being homophobic when you say things like women only have when you basically presuppose that women only have feelings and they don't have and that men have the facts. That's sexist to say. Basically saying you must be gay, huh? That's another way of saying or being homophobic. That's a way of being you're homophobic you're being homophobic when you say that. And I forgot the whole I already forgot the racism thing. You already lost me because you got so much shit here, man. It's hard to keep up, Michael. It's really hard. Maybe stop getting so fucking triggered. And it was 25 posts earlier, but now I think it's up to 50. And you called me triggered earlier. I watch mostly left-wing stuff. No, I don't watch Jesse. Oh, he knew what it was, and I didn't even say it. He knew what it was. Look at this, folks. I have to show this. I'm sorry. Now, I'm going to show this. I have to. There's no other way. I can't not show this now. Look at this. He said it. Look at this. Hold on. No, I do not watch Jesse. Hey, Michael, how did you know I was referencing Jesse earlier? Jesse Lee Peterson. He knows what I'm talking about. I didn't say Jesse Lee Peterson. No one in my live chat said Jesse Lee Peterson. I said, oh, hey, he's making a reference to Jesse Lee he's making a reference to that guy. And I gave a little bit of a spiel, and you said, no, I don't watch Jesse. Okay. All right. I'm sure you don't. But I did use his song in this video. How am I a hypocrite? Maybe you should do so. Yeah, Flesk. That's exactly right. We're just waiting. I'm not contradicting myself. If they had half of a brain and weren't brainwashed by cultural Marxism, they would go to my channel and leave your limp-wristed beta male channel. Dude, just admit that you are gay. It isn't a big deal. You're being homophobic, dude. And look at this. You understand that if you ever become like a really big channel with your current YouTube channel, I'm going to reference this. I'm just going to reference this. And you could do your own, like, cancel culture is a cultural thing. I don't have to do anything really other than expose you. And then the culture is going to do its thing. And then they're going to know, like, hey, look at this. But here's the thing. I won't do that I won't do that. I won't expose you if, I have like this infinite thing going on here. It's weird. I'm like right here talking, but it's a delay. So, yeah, I won't expose you, though, if you, at some point, admit that what you said was homophobic, racist, and sexist, and that you won't say that again. So, your 233 subs, you can assume it's going to stay that way for a pretty long time. Pretty damn long time, until you fix this. Flesk says, so are we ever going to end the wars? Right? Like, what the fuck are we talking about right now? Oh, wow. Flesk. That's amazing. I'm gonna have to save this video file real quick, and then I'll get back to the live chat. But you can all discuss what the fuck just happened there. Alrighty, so a lot of viewers. That's cool. Oh, he's still here. He says, I don't know why you're so ashamed of being gay. Well, you're presupposing I am, which is homophobic. Watch that video and you will learn something. I don't think I'm going to learn anything from any of your videos because it's not you. Then I don't want to listen to you because you have nothing to say. You just have what other people have to say, and that's it on your channel. See, on my channel, I have all these, like, I have a view. I have like a place, an opinion, and I have things to say about like the CDC. I expose things that only I expose, right? I'm trying to like do the kind of shit that Jimmy Dore's doing out there, right? And you're going out there with these, really bad ideas. And the reason why I'm getting so involved in this, folks, is because I'm trying to make a point to everyone that that you can argue with individuals without making them feel belittled. You don't have to use ad hominems. You don't have to. And I know I do still. And if I did, then I'm sorry, Michael. If I called you any names, then I'm sorry, because I don't want to rely on that kind of argumentation style. It's really bad. It's the kind of stuff that Vosh commits to. I won't, and I don't want to. So if you could, if I did call you a name, then you can tell me, and I'll take back that. But that said, I will call you out for what you're doing. You're being homophobic. You're being sexist, and you're being racist. You should stop. And I'm doing this because I want my viewers to know how to address people who act like you. Right? I'm trying to tell my audience, like, don't attack the people, attack the ideas. And in the same way, I really do want YouTube to follow suit. What do I mean? Let me pull it up real quick. So this is an example of silencing. This is a threat. They're threatening to silence me for a week. So this is an example of problematic shit. Like I get shit on from YouTube, but like people like Vosh can call their audience low IQ individuals. And I don't agree with that philosophy. Philosophy is attack the ideas, not the individual. Michael says you should have me on your channel. I already did. Yeah, I already did. Thanks, though. Michael says, clearly you need content that people will actually watch live. Clearly you need content that people need to actually watch live. And then you said, considering you only have 3 live viewers right now, it's 4 and you have 0. And Flesh says, do you think that a robot can be created mechanically male and be mechanically father of children and still be able to transform into a female? That's a really good question. I really want Michael to answer. We could do it Monday afternoon if you have the spine to do it. Flesh says misdirection. It's misdirection. That's what it is. You can answer the question if you want. How about you answer the question, Michael? How about you answer the question? So Flesh says equivalent relevance and similar amount of usefulness to the advancement of intellectual discourse. You can ask G's if you want. Yes! I love my fucking audience. My fucking audience is smart. They know how to weed shit out like this. Michael says, I get around 20 people watching me live when I stream. Wow, Michael. Wow, you're 20 people watching your live stream. Really makes my 4 people look really small. Damn. If only I had 20. Then I could be big, huh? Then I can make the big boy claims, huh? Your logic is so fucking great. It's so like it's pretty amazing, actually. You just keep going. You mean one person in regards to your audience. 20 is about 10 times more than you get. 20 is about 10 times more than you get. Can I don't know, maybe 20 is 10 times 4, Michael. Can you help me out with that? Can you please explain how 10 times 4 equals 20? At least 5 times. There it is. There it is. Yeah, I'm talking about the former CDC director and COVID-19. This right here, this 4, multiply that by 5, not 10 to get up to 20. You know, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything, though. Pretty sad that a channel that is 1/10 the size of your channel gets 5 times to 10 times more than you get. That's because I've been gone for like a year, buddy. You should probably catch up. You should probably figure out what's going on with this channel because you don't know what's going on. I was gone for a year. And now I'm back. Hi. And I'm going to get my viewers back. And I'm going to work hard for it. Cool. And you're going to work hard for nothing because I get to expose you, Michael. You can't expose me because I didn't say anything bad. But I get to expose you, Michael. The moment you become like 1,000 subs, I'm just going to do a video. I'm not even going to, you think I'm going to debate you? You think I'm going to give you a chance, an opportunity to say whatever you want on my channel? No, thanks. No, instead, I'm going to expose you. I'm going to show this moment and we're going to talk about it on my channel eventually once you have 1,000 subs. So I'll keep an eye on you, Michael, because I want to make sure that your racism, sexism, and homophobia, I want to make sure it stays in line, you know? I want to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Because if you want to try to get influence at some point, I would love to show you. I would love to show your audience this live chat because I get to keep this video. And I really want you to report this video, Michael, because if you report this video for copyright, you're going to lose anyways. You're not going to be able to go anywhere with it because I satisfy the Fair Use Act. I'm not violating the fair use laws when I show stuff and criticize you. And you know that. And I love that you know that. I love that you know that. I love it that you're going to have to let that seep into your mind. And you're going to have to realize that at some point, you're going to have to reckon with your own homophobia, racism, and sexism at some point if you want to become famous on YouTube, if you want to get more than 1,000 subs on YouTube. You're going to have to some point reckon with that. And by then, I'm probably going to have at least 10,000 subs. And I love that so much. So much. Oh, you're so triggered, man. You keep fucking spamming me. So, one of them is you. One of them is pretty sad that... Oh, so in reality, you only have 3 at best. Still have 4, buddy. I still have 4. Still have 4. So, oh, now it's 3. It went down to 3. He must have left. That's what it was. He got triggered. Oh, he said I have to take a dump. BRB. That's what happened. He left to take a dump. He's not going to come back. Expose me for what? I don't know, Michael. What did I expose you for during this video? Are you not sure about that? Because if you're not sure about that, then I get to also say that part. So, just for future reference, if Michael ever gets to 1,000 subs, because I personally don't like the concept of sexism, racism, homophobia going anywhere, you know? So, expose you for what? I don't know. Maybe I'm exposing you for racism, sexism, and homophobia, Michael. Maybe that. Of course, you won't debate me. You know, you would be made to look the fool. I think what we're doing right now is a debate. Is it not, Michael? You know, you would. Oh, that is why you want to monologue instead. I think you're monologuing too, which is weird because if two people are monologuing at the same time, that kind of sounds like a conversation, right? Gosh. He keeps going. It's so fun. I love this. This is fun. I'm sorry. I love this. Because you know your arguments don't hold water. Why would I report you? I don't care about reporting anything. You care about being triggered on my live chat because that's the only influence that you can have towards me right now. That is your people who want to silence anything that is critical of them. I don't want to silence anything, actually. I think you should be allowed to say whatever you want, but I also think I should be allowed to say whatever I want. And that's the great part about freedom of speech is that when you have your freedom of speech, so will I. And that's great, isn't it, Michael? Isn't that fucking fantastic? Don't you love freedom of speech? Gotta love that freedom of speech and freedom of press and fair use law, huh? Love it, huh? Gosh, I love it too. Joel says, he is right. You suck. I'm with Michael. Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Joel. Thanks for that insightful comment. Thank you. All right. Well, anyways, that wraps up all my live chat and all my videos for the day. I'm going to call it a day. Thanks, everyone.